guys, welcome back to another video. Thanks for joining me today. In today's video, I'm just going to be doing some prep work and things around the kitchen, using up some old bread and making new bread and that kind of thing. So anyways, I'm grateful that you've joined me. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. That's the #1 way that you can help my channel. It's such an encouragement to me to see other godly women coming around our community, offering encouragement and praying for each other. So I'm super pumped that that's who we are. So anyways, in today's video, aside from just doing some things around the house, I want to talk to you a little bit about motivation and staying motivated and some of my ways to get and stay motivated, because the bottom line here is, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut right to the chase, is that there's not a magic bullet for getting and staying motivated. It's something that you have to choose to do every single day. And I fail at this all the time. There are plenty of days where I'm not productive all day long. I'm just not. And it's just, it is what it is. There are days where I seem to manage to get everything done plus some, and then there are days where nothing gets done and I just waste the whole day frittering it away on doing nothing. So this is not an area where I've conquered, right? It's definitely a dying of self area. So I recently had an interesting conversation with a friend who was talking about how she's got all these things that she has to get done and she can never seem to find the time and yada yada yada. But I know for a fact that she spends a whole lot of her time on social media. So I did for her what my husband lovingly did for me, and I asked to see her screen time report on her phone. Did you know that your phone keeps track of your screen time? And she was like, oh, why? And I was like, well, what I hear you saying is that, you're not getting enough help, and that might be true. And I also hear you saying that there's not enough hours in the day, and that's probably true. But I hear you saying things like you don't have time to discipline your children, and you don't have time to clean your home, and you don't have time to make meals, and you don't have time. I said, but I know that you spend a lot of time on social media. And so I'm just wondering how much time you could cut off of your social media usage that could be focused time on the other areas of your life that you are complaining about. And I thank the Lord that instead of getting defensive about it and being offended about it, she decided to attempt to prove me wrong by pulling up her screen time report. And she had the same exact realization that I had when my husband did it for me. That she was spending, 8 to 11 hours a day looking at her phone, and that's a full-time job. When you think about it, that's a full-time job. Now, maybe you're not that deep in the hole of wasting time. Maybe it's only a couple hours for you, but if you find yourself saying, I don't have enough time, I can't figure out how to make housework and meals and whatever a priority, I highly encourage you to hold yourself accountable. Find somebody who will be willing to make you look at your screen time report. Find somebody who will be willing to tell you the hard truth that yes, you may not be getting enough help, and you may not have enough hours in the day to get all the things done. That's all possible. That's all true, potentially. However, what are you lying to yourself about? Because I was in that same exact position. And I'm still in that same exact position sometimes right now, where I'm willing to lie to myself to make myself feel better about something. So I think step 1 is just going to be being really brutally honest with yourself and finding someone who can help you be accountable in that. It could be your husband, it could be a child, it could be a friend, it could be, an older woman at church. But find someone who's going to be willing to help you hold your feet to the fire until you get into the habit of holding your own feet to the fire. At that point in time, it's not as hard to choose to do the things that you don't necessarily want to do. So you saw I made put some sourdough in the oven there. I am putting some frozen shredded potatoes into a baggie that's going to go in the freezer for hash browns. I just flash froze these. I had gotten an amazing deal at Azure Standard on organic potatoes. So I got a huge box, a box that we could not possibly eat before they would go bad. And I canned about 30 or 40 pounds, and then the remaining 10 pounds I shredded down into hash browns for the freezer. And I might, in the future, if I do this again, I might boil them first before freezing them, because I have since used some and they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them, but I just wonder if they would have a better quality if I had boiled them first before freezing them versus freezing them and then cooking them afterwards. But I guess I'll have to do that experiment later. Anyways, my husband comes in and helps me with this because I could not get the bag to close. I was having the hardest time. I like these little plastic bread bags for bulk storage of stuff, because the gallon zipper baggies are, well, first of all, expensive, and second of all, they don't hold as much as I think they should. So anyways, there I am bringing out a 25-pound bag of flour from Azure Standard. We store those bags in the freezer for several days. That helps kill any potential flour weevil eggs that's in the flour. And then when we're ready to use it, we just pull it out of the freezer, and I will portion it out into smaller bags afterwards, into smaller containers. But in the meantime, they just get stored in the big freezer until I'm ready to deal with them. So the number one factor that you're going to have for motivation is going to be doing something. And don't make that face. I know the face that you're making right now. The number one thing that's going to get you motivated is to accomplish something. And it can just be something small. It doesn't have to be something huge. But let's say that you have a bunch of things that you are struggling to figure out how you're going to complete them. See, in my day here, I have bread to make, I have potatoes to store, I had a kitchen to clean, I had all these different tasks to do. So as I started with them, I realized that I needed containers that were in the dishwasher. So I had to unload the dishwasher, right? So that was the very first thing I had to get done. And as I'm doing that, I'm trying to mentally prioritize, okay, what comes next and what comes after that, and then what comes after that. And sometimes making a list can be helpful. I use a couple different apps to help me keep track of the chores that I have to do and the things that need to get done. I do use a written planner as well, where I try to plan out my week with what things can get done on what days and where those can slot in at. And that's all very helpful, but the number one thing that's going to help you get motivated is by accomplishing a task. And it can, like I said, it can be any task. It can be starting the washer every single morning. It can be making your bed every single morning. Just that small little act of getting something done, of being just the smallest bit productive, actually kickstarts you into being motivated to accomplish bigger and bigger tasks. It's the same thing with weight loss. I can tell you from experience that if I can just get a small little win in the beginning of a weight loss journey, just losing a pound in 1 week at the very beginning is going to help keep me motivated for the rest of the weight loss that needs to happen. So if I can just reverse engineering, if I say I need to lose 50 pounds, which is kind of what my current goal is, that would put me at over 100 pounds lost total. But if I could just lose 50 pounds and I want to do that in about a year, then that's a pound a week, right? There's 52 weeks in a year. So what's the small little things that are going to keep me motivated for the entire year? Well, losing 1 pound a week is a great way to start being motivated. And I'm not even thinking about the 50 pounds at the end. Right now, I'm thinking about the 4 ounces. I'm thinking about the little things that I can do to make that motivation stick. And that's going to be walking with a friend every day so that I can get a little bit of extra exercise in and it not feel like a chore. And you can do the same things with housework and with homeschooling and with whatever other tasks you have in front of you right now. You can make your tasks not feel quite like a chore if you're using them to motivate you to complete the bigger tasks. Some of my other favorite ways to help motivate myself is to hold off on listening to my favorite podcasts. So my two favorite podcasts right now are Sheologians and Haunted Cosmos. And they only release an episode. I think Sheologians does weekly and Haunted Cosmos is bi-weekly. So I will let those episodes of podcasts stack. They're a little longer form, so 45 minutes to an hour for Sheologians and then an hour plus for Haunted Cosmos. And I will let those episodes sit up and stack in my podcast app so that when I have a task that I need to be really engaged with, really focused on, or a task that I need to accomplish and I don't need to be distracted while I'm doing it, I will then put headphones on, not earbuds. I will put something on my head that makes it look like I am focusing, because I am, and I will play the podcast for the 45 minutes or the hour and a half or however long it is. And during that time, I will use the podcast as my reward for being productive during the time that I'm listening to the podcast. And sometimes what this means is I actually miss parts of the podcast, which is good because then I can just listen to them later in the car when I'm just driving somewhere and I don't have to be as focused on it. So I will sometimes re-listen to the same podcasts if I've missed something. I won't try to go back and like rewind the podcast if I'm trying to focus. I will just listen to it again later when I'm doing a more mundane task like driving or gardening or something like that. But if I'm attempting to take a really good brisk walk, I will save one of my favorite podcasts and I will wait, and that will be the motivation. I only get to listen to this podcast when I'm taking my weekly long walk. So then I really enjoy podcasts, and I'll do the same thing with books. I really love books. I have a whole wall of books in my library. So I will not buy the book until I've accomplished this task or this goal or whatever. And you might be similar like that, or it might be something else. It might be something different. Maybe you really love, I don't know, clothes. Set yourself a goal. I'm not going to buy the new dress until I have achieved this goal. And then that helps you motivate and focus on the task at hand. If there's a reward at the end of the task, it's much easier to get the thing done. And it's not something that you have to do all the time. In fact, I think it's probably it's probably bad for you to reward yourself after just accomplishing some task every single time. I think that it's probably better to find motivation in doing the task itself. But if this isn't a habit that you've yet developed, then it can be helpful to motivate yourself with small rewards. Again, I'm going to bring this back to weight loss because that's currently where I'm at. It is helpful for me to motivate myself with, if I lose 5 pounds, this is a reward I'm going to get. And I'll make the reward usually tied to the habit that I'm attempting to implement. So if I'm attempting to implement a daily walking habit, then after I lose 5 pounds, I'm going to buy myself a really nice pair of walking shoes. I have walking shoes right now. I'm giving you an example, right? So tie your reward to your habit if it's possible. Some other ways to get motivated, so step 1 is just do something. Do anything. It helps spur you into motivation. Step 2 is to set up just little tiny reachable goals, which you can reward yourself with, which helps reinforce the habit of accomplishing things. If you were raised like I was, kind of aimlessly, like we weren't really given goals or tasks or anything, so having to learn that as an adult has actually been really challenging, and it's helped me to make sure that I teach my son to set goals and reach them. Like, it's been very helpful for him to hear, no, actually, there are hard things that you're going to have to do in life, and you're going to have to break them up into small chunks to accomplish them, because you don't actually become good at things until you've practiced. You don't actually become gifted at things until you've done them over and over and over. You don't actually become an expert at something until you've spent 10,000 hours doing the thing, right? So, and how do you do that? Well, reverse engineer it. If you want to be a millionaire by the time you're 40 and you're 18 right now, then figure out how much money you have to invest between now and 40, right? It's not that it's difficult. The having to do the thing is the difficult part. The figuring it out isn't difficult. So the same thing with all of your other tests that are stopping you, that's stopping you from being motivated or being productive. Reverse engineer it. Think about it super logically. If you have all these tasks to do, so let's say you've got to plan curriculum for your next homeschool year. You've got to order, summer clothes. I'll just give you an idea from my own life. I need to buy books for next year's curriculum. I need to develop my curriculum for my embroidery and crochet class for the upcoming semester. I need to buy our son some summer clothing because nothing that he has right now currently fits. I also need to work on meal planning and getting the freezer restocked. I need to do a bunch of research on where I can get local beef for better prices and local chicken for better prices. So that's all these little things, right? And these are all things that I can't actually accomplish right now. I can't do all of this today. Well, maybe I could actually, but I'm going to have to get on the phone. I'm going to have to make some phone calls. I'm going to have to order curriculum online. I'm going to have to do some printing and figure out what projects I'm going to have my embroidery and crochet classes do. I'm going to have to order the supplies from Hobby Lobby, like all these different things, right? I've got all these others, and that's on top of my daily housekeeping duties. That's on top of feeding my family. That's on top of caring for my own health and watching my own weight and things like that, right? So plus all the stuff that we're doing for church, yada, 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 right? It all adds up. So how am I going to reverse engineer all of that? Well, I know that curriculum has to be ordered by the beginning of August. So I set a date in July, a deadline, and curriculum needs to be ordered in the mail no later than this date. Okay, so I slot that into my planner and figure out, okay, I have to order on this date. We need to have this much money by this date, yada, 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 right? So you just work it all backwards. That's number 3. So number 3 is work your plan. Number 2 is to have a plan, right? Plan. Number 1, do something. Number 2, plan. Number 3, actually work your plan. Nothing's going to change unless you actually implement the things that you say you want to do. So I do think that it could be helpful, especially in our current culture, if you just stuck by the thing that you said you were going to do. This is a huge pet peeve of mine, like RSVPs for birthdays and whatnot. If I send out an invitation, I will not get any RSVPs. Or if I get any RSVPs, I can count on nearly all of them to cancel by the date of the party. And it's like, no, you said you were going to go. I get that you woke up and you don't feel like making the drive, or you don't, whatever. And of course things come up, but that's not the majority of the time. The majority of the time is not that things just come up. It's that you didn't write it down. You didn't make a plan. You didn't actually agree to do the thing that you said you were going to do. And so I'm using RSVPs as just an example, but we do this to ourselves all the time. We self-sabotage. We tell ourselves, oh, I really want to lose 20 pounds. And then we tell ourselves the next year, I really want to lose 25 pounds. And then we tell ourselves the next year, I really want to lose 30 pounds, right? Because over the year you gain 5 pounds or whatever. But the point being that just because you tell yourself something doesn't mean you're actually going to do it. You actually have to do the work. You actually have to implement a plan. So if you say that you're going to do something, do it. Hold yourself accountable. Keep your word to yourself. I think we live in a culture that just doesn't care about keeping promises, and it doesn't care about integrity, and it doesn't really care about oh, I said I was going to do that thing, but it's no big deal. I know my friend will forgive me if I can't make it or don't show up or whatever, you know, and that all may be true. It may be no big deal. And your friend may forgive you for not showing up to the birthday party that you said you were going to go to. And of course, like I said, things do happen. However, hold yourself accountable. Make it a priority to do the things that you said you were going to do. So if you said you were going to, I don't know, make the bread today, get up and make the bread. Hold yourself accountable. Do the things you said you were going to do. Your word means something. And if you say it, you really should do it. And I think, you know, especially as Christians, we get a horrible, we have a whole lot of hypocrisy in the church, in the larger body church, the big C church, you know, because who are we? What are we doing that looks any different than the culture that lies all the time? If you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it, what does that make you? It makes you a liar, and that makes you a hypocrite. So especially as Christians, we need to be standing on our word. We need to be holding what we said. We need to be doing the things that we said we were going to do. And so if you find yourself confessing to your girlfriends that you really need to stop spending so much time on Facebook, then do it. Don't make excuses. If you find yourself saying, oh, I really need to clean that room, and it's like the 5th time you've said it, well, then you've now lied 5 times. If you've said you really needed to clean the thing, then go clean the thing, right? Like, don't make excuses for yourself. Don't make excuses for other people. Hold yourself accountable. Find somebody who can help hold you accountable. These are all great ways to get and stay motivated. And then, you know, remember, don't beat yourself up if you don't meet the goal that you set for yourself. Even getting 1% closer to the goal that you set for yourself is better than getting 0% of the goal, right? Like, setting yourself a goal and taking a step towards it is always going to be better than never setting the goal and never taking that first step anyhow. So I say all of this to ask, where are you struggling? Where are you struggling with motivation? Where are you struggling to keep the word that you said you were going to do? Do you find yourself constantly repeating, oh, I need to do that thing. Oh, I need to do that thing, but then never doing the thing? Leave a comment below if you find yourself doing that. And no condemnation, no judgment, but now is the time to just get it done. Just make the change that you said you were going to do and hold to your word. And you're going to see me doing that right alongside you. And as much as it sucks to hold your word, I keep saying, I need to lose weight. I need to get healthier. I need to lose weight. And guess what? Here I am now doing the thing. It sucks. I don't love it, but I have to stand by my word. So I encourage you, dear sister in Christ, to stand by your word. Do the things that you said you were going to do. Do the things that you know you're being convicted of doing. So just get it done. And I'm here to cheer you on. All right. Well, I hope that that was motivating for you. I hope that you found something useful in that little speech. If you found anything helpful or edifying or educational, please share this video with a friend that you think it would help along the way. That's the #1 way you can support my channel. I really appreciate all of the new subscribers, the likes, and the shares. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!